Come on in, come on in. I want to welcome everybody to come in the room. To come in the room. How's everybody doing today? We have a good conversation that we're going to talk about today. We have a good conversation. We're talking about overthrowing unhealthy habits. Overthrowing unhealthy habits, because this is the time where people are making in their New Year's resolutions. They're in a mindset that they're open to doing new things. This is where you got to understand we got to stay consistent and we got to push ourselves. And so if we're going to overcome unhealthy habits, this is where we got to recognize what are we doing that are unhealthy. What are we doing that's are unhealthy? Because so many times we get so used and accustomed to our unhealthy habits, we think that it's healthy, and we got to begin to recognize that some of the things that we're doing, it's not healthy. It's very much unhealthy. And one of the first scriptures that we're going to talk about in Hosea 4, the Bible said that my people perish because they lack knowledge. And so that, in other words, if our life is going to be better, if you're going to have a successful and a productive new year, you got to start gaining knowledge. You got to get more knowledge. You got to surround yourself around people that know more than you. You got to get yourself connected with people that's going in the direction that you want to go. This is where you got to begin to get yourself prepared, because if you just sit there and say, you know what, everything's gonna work out, and you know what, things are turning around, but you know that you're doing the same thing, you're thinking the same way, and you just think things are going to change magically, you are deceiving yourself. You got to begin to understand it's going to take effort, and it's going to take you being intentional. If you are not willing and intentional, you're going to find yourself duplicating the same cycles. I don't know about you, been there, done that. Keep saying that things are going to get better, keep saying that things are going to change, or else I start to change for a couple of days, then go back to them old ways and stop doing anything. Can I tell you, all you got to do is absolutely don't do anything. When you don't do anything, guess what? Can I tell you that's unhealthy? When you find yourself being lazy, find yourself constantly on looking at social media, looking at somebody else's life, looking at what somebody else doing. You got to understand you are not invested in yourself, looking at somebody else's success and just say, oh, I wish I was like that. I wish I could have did that. No, you got to be intentional if you want to become healthy. And the first thing you got to recognize when you're unhealthy is when you're comfortable. When you're comfortable not doing nothing, you're comfortable just flicking the television, just looking at your phone, you are in an unhealthy state. Can I tell you, when you are comfortable, you got to understand your life is going to stay the same when you are not willing to make yourself uncomfortable. This is where you got to say, you know what? I'm not going to procrastinate, and I'm not going to become lazy. Become lazy and you just sitting there just wait. I'm just waiting on God to make things change. I'm waiting on things to work out for my good. You got to begin to understand things are not going to change like that. And if you're going to overthrow unhealthy habits, you got to be honest with yourself and know when you are unhealthy. So many times we think because my hair look good, my nails look good, I got on a nice outfit, so I think that I'm healthy. That doesn't mean that you're healthy. Just because you got your fresh haircut, just because you looking good on the outside, that does not mean that you're healthy. What does your mental status looks like? What does your word vocabulary sounds like? Are you taking inventory over your life? Because if you're never looking at yourself and say, you know what, I got to get better. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. Because so many times, I don't know about you, have you recognized that time is speeding up? Time is speeding up very fast. And you know what? Guess we just coming in January, and we're going to be in July before you know it. And this is where we got to make sure that we're dealing with our issues. So what is unhealthy? Unhealthy is when your actions and your behaviors, when they are detrimental to your physical and your mental health. This is where you got to ask yourself, what are you entertaining in your life that is detrimental to you? Because so many times we are not looking our life. We're too busy looking at somebody else, and you don't recognize what's detrimental to you. You got to be able to look at yourself. Look at how you thinking. How you thinking? Is that healthy or is that not? Well, I'm tired of this. I ain't gonna make it. This is too hard. Everybody else got it better than me. You got to begin to understand that kind of thinking and that kind of speaking. It's detrimental to you. Finding yourself just laying down, eating, watching TV, on social media. That's detrimental. Why? Because you're not doing anything. You're not burning any calories. You're not moving. When you find yourself staying up all night on looking at television, on the phone, that's detrimental to your health. When you find yourself, you keep looking at a lot of reality television, when you're allowing a lot of drama to go into your head, you know what? That's detrimental to you. When you're lying to yourself, oh, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, that is detrimental. The Bible says, I want you to be in good health, and he says, I want your soul to prosper. Your soul cannot prosper if you lying to yourself. Your soul cannot prosper if you ain't doing anything. You got to begin to understand, you got to be intentional. Just like when you go to your job, those people are not just going to pay you because you clock in. They want to see, what are you doing? Are you meeting the quota? Are you helping your clients? Are you helping the patients? Whatever that it is that you may be doing, you got to be doing something. And this is what we got to be doing in 2025. We got to start off doing something. Start off educating ourselves. He said, because my people are perishing. We are losing ground to the devil because you don't know what the devil is doing. You are not recognizing that. Do you not know that the devil studies us? The devil studies what you do. The devil studies when you go to bed. He studies who you talk to. He watch your movements because he's looking for an area of weakness. He's looking to see, do you pray? He's looking to see, do you fast? He's looking to see, do you worship? He's trying to find a weakness in your life so he can come in. This is why distractions come in. This is why the enemy calls people to be open up their mouth saying stuff to want you to get in your flesh, to get in your feelings. Why? Because the devil is looking for something to make you unhealthy. Are you finding yourself, you always fussing? You find yourself, you always mad? You always upset? You got to understand these things are unhealthy. Why? Because it's stressing your body out. This is where you got to be intentional and say, you know what? Some change got to start now. It's going to start today. It's where I got to make changes today, and I got to follow through with these changes because I got to understand now. I got to educate myself. Can I tell you, Proverbs 11:9, it says the hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor. You got to understand that even too, unhealthy habits is talking about people, gossiping, slandering. That is so unhealthy. Do you not know that this is a picture of blessings to you, that you do not like yourself? So many people, they cannot go a day without talking about somebody in somebody else's business, knowing what's going on in somebody else's house, telling folk, people shared something with you, you shared it to everybody else. You got to begin to understand, but then yet you say you in the choir, yet you saying you preaching the word, yet you saying you're a minister, a teacher of the gospel. When the Bible says a hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor. How can you destroy your neighbor? With your words, because your words are tearing down that other individual. With your words, you're tearing down the person that you said that you love. Well, I was just mad and I was upset. Guess what? In the spiritual realm don't care whether or not you upset. When you open up your mouth and you're speaking negative over another person, you got to begin to understand that is unhealthy. A lot of our relationships are failing, especially family, especially marriages, especially our community churches. It's because the words that come out of our mouth are unhealthy, especially when we get upset. This is where we got to know how to put a guard over our mouths. If we can't say anything good, guess what? We shouldn't say nothing at all. The moment you start getting ready to say something, the moment you get ready to raise your voice, you got to begin to understand now you're crossing over to unhealthy behaviors. When you're crossing over to unhealthy behaviors, guess what? Now your blood pressure is raising. Now you're changing who you God wants you to be. And now you're becoming somebody that God say, that's not the person who I created. This is where you got to be intentional to know what's healthy and what's unhealthy. So many times we come from atmospheres where it's comfortable to cuss one another out, it's comfortable to yell, it's comfortable to holler, and we say that this is me. No, what it is that you are unhealthy. This is what we got to begin to understand. You know what? I gotta stop. I had to recognize I was unhealthy when I was yelling, hollering, and fussing because I wanted somebody to make sure that they was hearing what I was saying. I had to realize that I was toxic. Not only is it unhealthy, but it's a toxic behavior because guess what? You're not going to have very many people that's going to want to talk with you because you always elevate your voice. You always talking down at them. A person is not going to want to listen to you if you are yelling. And so therefore you got to know the difference between what's healthy and what's unhealthy. But yeah, a lot of times we form these unhealthy habits because of our upbringing. We saw our parents do it. We saw grandmama and granddaddy do it. We saw big mama do it. And so guess what? Just because you seen them do it does not make it right. Yes, they was unhealthy. And so now you brought it into your life. Now you showing your children how to become unhealthy. A lot of times we follow these things from our peers, people who we hang around. You just a bee, you just a heifer, you just low down, and we talk like that and we assume that all of this is well. No, it is unhealthy. And then you wonder why your relationships look the way that it looks because you have not fortified yourself learning how to become healthy. Can I tell you, when we're talking about becoming healthy, I'm not talking about just because you look clean. I'm not talking about just because your makeup is on point, your haircut is razor line sharp. No, I'm talking about your mental health. I'm talking about your physical health. I'm talking about how you treat yourself, how you treat your brother, how you treat your sister. This is where we got to become intentional. Say, you know what, that ain't cool. You walk in the house, you ain't said nothing, you slam the door, don't talk to me, leave me alone. You are strictly unhealthy. And guess what? Other relationships, what you're going to produce is other unhealthy relationships. There's no way you're going to have a healthy relationship if you cannot learn to become healthy with your community, with your husband, with your children, with your family, with those that are around you. But then yet you talking about I want a relationship. It don't work like that. We got to understand that's why God said your first ministry is those that's in your household. This is where we got to be willing to look at ourselves. If we're going to overthrow these unhealthy habits, we got to be able to, and we got to stop watching TV. A lot of this stuff on TV, well, I'm just keeping it real, cussing one another out, saying all kind of stuff. You got to understand that the TV is ran by Satan. A lot of these secular shows, these worldly shows, they're ran by worldly people. And when they're ran by worldly people, guess what? They have no morals. They do not honor and respect one another. They do not honor and respect God. And so we found a lot of our culture following the habits of what they see on TV, following the habits, doing what they see the other people doing because it seemed like, yep, and the music too, you're right. And with the music, and we look at it and say, you know what, I'm gonna do the same thing because this is what everybody's doing. No, this is not what everybody's doing. This is what unhealthy people are doing. And then we wonder why we're so toxic. Why? How come we're so we don't care about one another? How come we don't have any empathy for one another? Because when you're following the patterns of the world, you are detaching yourself from God. As God's children, you got to be intentional to make sure that you stay connected to God. How am I going to stay connected to God? I got to keep myself abreast on what's good and what's not good. I got to keep myself abreast on what's healthy and what's not healthy. And so many times, well, I ain't going to talk. Somebody trying to talk to you. Oh, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. You are showing that you are unhealthy because if you cannot communicate with anybody, what's wrong with you? Nothing. So we clearly see something wrong with you. Nothing. Don't want to talk it out. Can I tell you, you are displaying unhealthy habits. And then yet you saying, I'm ready for a relationship. How are you ready for a relationship and you can't talk? You upset, but then yet you're not mature enough to talk to another person like an adult, but you're having temper tantrums, slamming doors, shouting, leave me alone, forget you, saying ugly words out of your mouth. Then you got to come back later on when you cool off. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. You know why? Because you was immature. How many times we're going to keep on doing these things and saying that you're grown, but then our actions don't show that we're grown. Our actions showing that we act like that of a child. The Bible said, when I was a child, I thought as a child. I did things as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so when you are maturing, this is where now you got to say, you know what, I got to be intentional on what I'm doing. I got to be intentional on what I'm saying. I can't be walking around here just doing and saying anything, knowing that I need to go talk with my neighbor, knowing I need to go talk with my brother or talk with my sister because I got an issue. But when you don't want to talk and you just automatically assume things is going to work out, that's a lie. Sometimes, yeah, we do have to pray. But sometimes the Bible says if you got to out with your brother and your sister, you need to go to your brother and your sister. How many times we got outs and we're not saying anything? How many times we got outs with people in the room, but then yet we would not say that I got an issue with you? How it is you got to out with your spouse, you sleeping in the bed with them, but yet you would not say that you got to out with them. You got to out with your supervisor, but then yet you would not say anything, but you'll talk to your friend who can't help you. You'll talk to somebody who can't share no light with you, but then here it is, the person that you need to talk to, you will not open up your mouth. You got to understand that is a unhealthy behavior. We got to begin to understand, and then we saying that because I know God gonna fight for me. You got to understand you ain't even doing what the word says. The word says if you got a problem with your brother or sister, you go to them. And here it is, so many times our relationships could have been spared if you went and talked to that person. Hey, I got a problem with you. Hey, I don't like how you did this. I don't like how you said that. It's how you go to that person. It's because you're going to that person with respect. You're going to that person with honor, because you're talking to that person how you want to be talked to. We're talking about learning and overthrowing these unhealthy habits. But when you're looking at yourself and say, that's just how I am. Can I tell you, when we got bad attitudes, this is just how I am. Everybody in my family like that. That's what one lady told me. And I'm like, we are so toxic that we don't even understand. You ain't see Jesus going around with no bad attitude. You ain't see Jesus walking around with no frown on his face, frowning at people. You are unhealthy. This is where you got to look at you in the mirror, and then you wonder why people say, why you looking like that? Why you frowning? But this how I am. No, that's not how you are. And your face should not be like that. This is where you got to understand you are a child of the living God, and therefore you should display him. So many times we are not displaying God in the right manner. So many times we saying that we love God, but yet our actions does not look like God. We don't talk like God. People can't tell that we're God's children because of our unhealthy habits. Because if you saying you got a relationship with God, you mean to tell me God ain't telling you that you need to change your attitude? God ain't dealing with you how you acting. God ain't dealing with you how you treating your neighbor. God ain't dealing with you how you hold so much animosity. You keeping up mess. You keeping up confusion. You got to understand that is unhealthy things. You know, and you may say, well, you know what, Apostle, you just going off. No, I'm showing you. I want to show you. It says here, Proverbs 11 and 9, the hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor. He said, but through knowledge, the righteous shall be delivered. See, can I tell you, righteousness is being delivered is not just throwing up in a trash can. You can get delivered by hearing knowledge, hearing information that you did not know. And when you apply this knowledge to your life, guess what? Your life is changed, and that's how you get delivered. So many times we are not delivered because we hear all this wonderful knowledge, but we ain't doing nothing with it. We trying to prove to somebody else what we know, but what you know, are you living it in your life? What you know, are you trying to apply it to your life? Because this is what deliverance is about. Here it is. Oh, I go to deliverance ministry. Oh, I'm delivered. Oh, if you're delivered, you're going to apply knowledge. You're going to keep putting yourself in a place where you're going to be hearing information that's going to challenge you. If what you're hearing is not challenging you, you are fooling yourself. If you're around people that are below you and you see like you the big one in the group, everybody coming to you, you got to understand you're dumbing down. You got to be willing to put yourself with people who's going to challenge you, people who's going to cause you to step up, people who's going to even the way we dress, we got to step it up. We sitting up here saying, well, I want to be in corporate America. I want to look like a businessman, look like a businesswoman. You got to step it up. You don't wait till you get there, but you automatically start walking into this thing because you're forming healthy habits. You're watching people that's going in the direction that you want to go in. And guess what? So the first thing that we can learn to do, when you refuse to ask for help, you got to understand that's an unhealthy habit. When you refuse to ask somebody, can you help me? Will you mentor me? Will you sign up when you won't sign up for a class and you know you need help? When you know you need to go back to school and you don't want to go back to school? When you know you need to go to Sunday school where I want to learn more about the things of the God, but yet you won't go to Sunday school, school of life, or you won't go to Bible study. How can you be honest with yourself and saying that, what, God gonna use me? God can't use you if you won't know his word. God can't use you if you're not being taught. If I can't follow it, guess what? God definitely ain't going to use me to be no leader, because before I lead, I got to first know how to follow. So when you don't know how to follow, guess what? You setting yourself up for failure. So you got to understand that these are unhealthy habits when you don't want to ask for help. Another thing, when you don't want to ask for help, you are walking in the spirit of pride. I don't want nobody to know that I don't know. I don't want nobody in my business. You are prideful. You got to understand, don't nobody know everything. Ain't nobody perfect but God. So therefore, if we know that we need some help, we need to be trying to go ask somebody. We need to go be signing up for these classes, just like how I'm offering these classes to you all. And some people want to ask me a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Sign up to the class. If we can wear a $300 weave, you can sign up for a class. If you can wear some $300 shoes, you can sign up for a class that's going to teach you how to become healthy. You got to begin to understand, if you don't want to invest in yourself, why would anybody else invest in you? And so this is what we got to begin to understand. When you don't ask for help, guess what we start doing? We start looking for help in drugs. We start looking for help with sex. We start looking for help with alcohol. We try to find other things to consume our time because we don't want to ask for help. We don't want nobody to know that we don't know. So therefore, we're looking for other voids, other things to fill the voids that we have. And can I tell you, this is where we got to stop being shameful. When you are shameful, well, I don't want to talk about it. Well, if you don't want to talk about it, how do you think you're going to get over this? How do you think your life is going to get better? Well, I don't want nobody to know that I don't know. Well, guess what? Again, that's the first thing I started out with you. You're going to find yourself stuck. And you're going to find yourself duplicating the same mistakes that you made last year because you're not getting the knowledge that you need to be delivered. Deliverance is when God shines the light on areas in your life where you're dark at. God begins to shine the light on these areas to show you need to be educated. You need to change what you're doing. If you're not willing to change, you're not willing to listen, guess what? You're not going to be delivered. I don't care how many times they don't prophesy to you. I don't care how many times they don't put oil all over you. Guess what? Your life is going to stay the same until you get it in your mind. I need to stop doing what I'm doing. I need to stop saying what I'm saying. I got to change the way that I'm thinking. I got to pull down. So many times we let so many negative things come through our mind. We're thinking negative. I'm a failure. I feel defeated. Don't nobody love me. Don't nobody understand. Why are you entertaining? Do you not know that's an indication you are unhealthy? The Bible says in 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, you got to pull down, cast down imaginations, cast down images in your mind that try to tell you to do these negative things. Cast down those images that are telling you that you're not going to make it. You're not good enough. You're a failure. That it's going to always be like this. You got to pull this stuff down. You got to stop thinking that it's just going to magically work out. You got to stop thinking it's going to magically go away. It's not going to magically go away. I don't know how many times I went to church thinking just because I showed up things in my life was going to change. And you know what it caused me to do? It caused me to be angry with God because I kept saying I'm going, but ain't nothing changing because it was not taught. Emphasis was not taught that I got to change what I'm doing. I got to look at what I'm doing, the people who I'm hanging around, the people who I'm talking to. I had to recognize I had to change a lot of those things in order for things to change in my life. I couldn't keep on listening to them lies that the devil was telling me in my mind. I had to pull down. How do you pull it down? By speaking the word. I pulled down that spirit of poverty. I pulled down that spirit of defeat. I pull down that spirit of rejection. You a liar in the name of Jesus. I thank you that I'm accepted in the beloved, that God loves me. I got people that loves me. You got to know how to open up your mouth because this is where God is giving you authority. God is giving, what is authority? It's a supernatural strength that God is giving you, that when you open up your mouth, it's as if he's doing it, but he's doing it through your body. He's doing it through your mouth. And this is where you got to open up your mouth. Well, I just don't talk a lot. I don't like nobody. I don't like to talk. I want you to say it for me. No. As a child of God, it's not your kingdom. This is not Burger King. This is where you got to be willing to recognize by you don't like to talk. That's an unhealthy habit. That's something that you got to get over. That's something that you got to realize by you being quiet. How many times people walked over you? How many times people overlooked you? How many times people didn't know you was in the room because you were so quiet? That is an unhealthy habit. This is where you got to open up your mouth and start talking. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, you don't like it. But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's not right. You got to understand that God is saying, I'm depending on you to represent me. I'm depending on you to represent that you are my child. And if you're my child, guess what Jesus did? Jesus started talking. Y'all, we got to stop. Well, I'm quiet. I've been quiet all my life. Just because you've been quiet all your life, you're looking at a quiet person. I had to recognize being quiet kept me out of a lot of God's blessings. Being quiet kept me being overlooked. Being quiet had people running over me because I would not speak up for myself. If you don't speak up for yourself, who's going to speak up for you? This is where God is saying, I'm giving you the authority. I'm giving you the spirit to open up your mouth. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable that you're going to be. But when you sitting there and just wait and thinking that, I'm just going to walk in this strength. I'm going to be this powerful man of God. I'm going to be this powerful woman of God. You lying to yourself. No, this is where you got to be intentionally and you got to start talking. And can I tell you what you got to start doing? You got to look in the mirror and talk to yourself. One of the things that I tell the people in my class, the homework, I said, you got to look in the mirror and talk to yourself for 5 minutes. Talk to yourself 5 minutes. You know what? I am smart. I am an overcomer. Everything that comes to me in my life, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to face my fears. You know what? I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to set boundaries. I'm not going to let people walk over me. I'm going to be able to express how I feel. That's a part of the homework. You got to begin to look at yourself. Why do I got to look at myself in the mirror? Because guess what? I'm overcoming that spirit of self-hatred. So many times we have self-hatred and don't even recognize that we have it. But this is where when you're learning to form a new habit about you, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and you got to speak them words to yourself. Because before I tell you that you're beautiful, I got to tell me that I'm beautiful. Before I tell you that you can do it, I first got to tell myself that I can do it. This is where we're learning how to overthrow these unhealthy habits. Well, I just don't like looking at myself in the mirror. I don't like hearing my voice. Well, guess what? If you don't like hearing your voice, that's a part of self-hatred. That means you don't like to hear yourself talk. You don't like to hear, I don't like to hear myself on the recording. Guess what? God gave you that voice. And so if God gave you that voice, God loves you. Who are you to say, I don't love what God loves? No, I love what God loves and I hate what God hates. And so guess what? If God gave me this voice, I got to learn to love this voice too. And so therefore, these are things that you got to learn to do so that you can overthrow these healthy habits. Can I tell you, repetition is key. Repetition is key. The more that you repeat the things over and over and over, your mind and your brain begins to believe what you're saying is truth. This is where you got to sit. The Bible says meditate on the word day and night, day and night, day and night. Meditate means to rethink. It means to ponder. So that means I got to tell myself, I'm the head and not the tail. I don't care what I feel. I'm the head and not the tail. I'm the head and not the tail. I got to make sure that I'm doing this. Before I'm sitting up on the phone talking to my friend, I got to make sure I'm doing what I got to do for me. Because, see, I don't know, one thing I learned about this culture, we try to help other folks and you ain't help yourself. That's a spirit of self-hatred. How in the world can I minister to somebody else and I'm jacked up myself? The same thing I'm telling you to do, I don't even do. The devil is a lie. This is where you got to recognize where you are unhealthy. How can you help somebody and you haven't even shown you got the anointing to overthrow these things yourself? When you start seeing yourself overthrow the very thing what you used to operate in, that gives you the anointing to help somebody else. But if you can't overthrow yourself, only thing you doing is just giving information. Only thing you doing is just putting stuff out there, because the anointing is going to come with a price. So that means I got to be willing to work the word. I got to be willing to speak over my own life. I got to be willing to speak over my own self if I'm going to see change take place in my life. And seeing this is what we got to be intentional doing this. Because if you're not intentional by getting you some self-help books, learning how to operate in self-control. Oh, the devil made me do it. No. One of the fruit of the spirit is self-control. No, you got to know how to stop yourself when you want to eat 10 cookies. No, I'm going to eat 5 cookies. Self-control. When I say that you're going to go to bed and you stay up early, no, to stay up later, I got to operate in self-control. When I say I'm going to get off the phone, I ain't going to talk at this time, I got to use self-control. Because here it is, when you keep on, you don't have no limitations, when you don't have not limitations, when you don't have any parameters for yourself and parameters what you got with people, you are unhealthy. Because can I tell you, people will walk over you if you are unhealthy. People will go and they will go beyond your bound. If you don't have any boundaries, people will call you all time of the night. People will say all kind of things to you and they wouldn't disrespect you. And guess what? When you don't say anything, you are training them. This is how I am. But when you tell them, no, when you said that hurt my feelings. When you said that, no, I'm not going to tolerate that. No, please don't yell at me. Please don't holler at me. What am I doing? I'm now showing them you are unhealthy. I'm showing them, if you want a relationship with me, don't talk to me like that. If you want a relationship with me, please don't yell at me, because I'm not going to yell at you. This is where sometimes we got to teach other people, because here it is. People are so used to dysfunction. They used to our dysfunction, and we got dysfunction, and we just keep going rolling with it. And this is where you got to, it got to stop. Because if you saying, I want a healthy relationship, how are you going to have a healthy relationship if you ain't healthy? It's not possible. You're not going to have a healthy relationship until you get healthy first. So when you refuse to learn from your mistakes, when you don't want to go back over your life, especially relationships, if you don't want to look back into where you messed up, what you did, you're going to, that same unhealthy behavior, you're going to pull it into your new relationship. Because when you fail to go back and say, you know what? I worship them. I gave them more time than I gave God. You know what? When I got connected with them, I stopped praying. I stopped going to church. You got to be able to look at the pattern. Because when you can't look at when somebody came into your life and you shifted, because when you got healthy relationships, you're going to shift for the better. I'm going to say that again. When you got healthy and good relationships, you're going to become healthier. You're going to become a better person. You're going to become healthier. But when you find yourself going downhill, you detaching from God, you ain't praying, you ain't studying, it's all about you trying to get what you want to get. You got to understand, you still unhealthy. Yes, you in a relationship, and guess what you got to realize? God is not going to allow some relationship to prosper, and here it is, you gonna kick him out of it. And see, and this is how we make people our gods, because here it is, we shut down our relationship with God, and now we make them our everything. We talking to them, we doing what they want to do, and so now, and we had the audacity, well, I'm praying that God gonna help us, and we gonna do this together. You got to really be honest with yourself. Because God say you got to come back to your first love. Your creator is your first love. This is why we got to get back to being healthy for real. Because before I get any kind of love, I first got to learn how to love my creator. And I got to understand loving my creator it's not just me going to church. Loving my creator is me. Am I talking to my creator? Can my creator talk back to me? Can my creator reveal to me things that I'm doing wrong and I don't get offended? Can my creator have somebody to chastise me and I don't get upset? Can my creator tell me that, you know what, I need to back off from this relationship. I need to back off from this, and I listen. Because see, here it is, we saying that, you know what, I love God. Yes, ma'am, it is a payment plan. And so we got to begin to understand. We got to understand that the enemy wants you at a place where you will make another individual your God. Because when another individual is your God, you are now walking in total toxicity. Because the Bible said, I'm coming back. He said, God said, I'm coming back for my bride. So in other words, God is looking at you like you are his woman, his wife. And so therefore, if I'm cheated on God and I made this person I'm with my God and I'm neglecting God, I got to really be honest with myself and know that this is not a healthy relationship, because we both should be growing in God. We both should be going in the same direction. But when I find myself going in another direction, I got to be honest with myself and say, you know what? God have no dealings with this. See, and this is where we got to begin to look at ourselves and learn from your mistakes and be willing to talk about it. Be willing to tell on yourself, you know what? People who you hurt, I hurt you. What I said was not right. I don't even understand how we saying we healthy and you got stuff in your heart. You don't say stuff to people. You don't hurt people's feelings, and you have not went to apologize. How in the world can you be healthy like that? That's not healthy. Or you holding a grudge, or you holding you've been coveting what another person have, or you got thoughts in your mind about another person. You got to begin to understand that it's not healthy. And how we can still do things for God, or we can sing, we can pray, we can preach, and we got to know that that's not healthy. Because as a child of God, we got to know we're supposed to take those things to God and pray and say, you know what, God, I'm jealous of them. It seems like they got everything. I know that what you did for them, that you'll do for me. God, I need you to help me. That way, you got to be honest with yourself and learn from your mistakes. You know, I got to be honest. I'm jealous and I want what they have. But you know what? I don't want to pay the price. Yeah, I like the way her body looks. But yet this woman go exercising every day for an hour. I don't even want to go exercise one day a week. I got to be honest with myself and learn from what I want. I'm feeling some kind of way. And see, this is where our feelings are unbalanced, because we're feeling some kind of way, but you can't justify your feelings because, well, I just feel like that. Just because you feel like that don't make it right. That's when you got to understand, when you feeling the way that you feel, what makes your feeling right. It got to go beyond just because I feel like that. You got to be honest with yourself and say, you know what? I feel like this. I feel lonely. Okay, I feel lonely and I feel like don't nobody want me. But and if I'm a woman, but the Bible says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So wait a minute. So that means God is trying to tell me something about me. I got to get myself together. That means I got to be working on my weaknesses. I got to be changing the way that I think. I got to be changing what I'm doing so that this man can find me. Because so many times we want people to come find us when you know you ain't no good for nobody. That's just like as a nurse. They got a well child side and they got a sick child side. Why do they got two different sides? Because if you put that sick child over there with the well children, guess what it's going to do? The germs from that sick child is going to now contaminate the well children. Well, this is what people are doing. People are contaminating other people because they have not took the time to deal with their issues. Here it is, they still dealing with old relationships, dealing with insecurities, low self-esteem, but yet I want to be in a relationship. How can you be in a relationship when you got all this going on? The only thing you're going to do is make a healthy person sick. And this is where we got to stop realizing, well, so-and-so got somebody, but so-and-so did the work. You didn't do the work. And so if you didn't do the work, you can't think that God is going to give you his son. I got 2 children. I don't want to just give my children to know anybody that I know that they toe up to the floor up. They have not worked on themselves. As a parent, I don't want my child to be with nobody like that. So how would you think God feels about us? God would say, I got my son over here. He's working. He done went to counseling. He done got him some deliverance. He done got back in school. He done got a promotion on his job. God is not going to want to get his son to a loose woman, a woman who dealing with insecurity, low self-esteem. She would drive that man bananas. You know why? Because I seen you talk to the other woman. He got to talk to other women on his job. I seen the way you smile at her. Wait a minute. No, you got to deal with your insecurities. You got to deal with your issues, because here it is. The man can't even talk to. I don't want you to talk to nobody. How in the world can he work on this job and not talk to nobody? But then yet, because you have not dealt with your issues, you want to silence the man from talking from all women. Because if you really believe who you said that you were, you wouldn't be thinking that he going to talk to somebody. Because he would know how to value you. And see, this is where you got to know how to value yourself. You know what? I listened to Bishop R.C. Blake. And he always he said that sometimes as women, we'll say, well, ain't nobody talking to me. Ain't nobody looking at me. He said, but when you're working on yourself, he said, you got to look at yourself like an expensive car. You're looking at yourself, are you a Rolls Royce? Are you a Mercedes Benz? Are you a BMW? So you see people driving a Ford. You see people driving a Toyota Corolla. They're driving a Maxima. He said, but if you're a Rolls Royce, you got to continue to keep valuing yourself, keep betting yourself until that other person who is a Rolls Royce, they can recognize who you are, and that's the person that's going to pursue you. That's the person that's going to come after you. But here it is. You are a Rolls Royce, but you sitting up here looking at somebody with the Ford. Wait a minute. He's not going to know how to value you, because it's some things he got to work through his own self. Well, I just need you to know this. I need you to do this. And he can't relate, because this man is not on this level where you have worked through yourself. And so there he feeling like, you know what, I don't want you talking to nobody. I want you to come home. If you're going to the store, I want you to come back right in 15 minutes. So if it's 20 minutes, I'm going to come to the store. So now you're dealing with somebody who got controlling issues. Now you're dealing with somebody who got low self-esteem issues, because here it is. I don't want you talking to no other men. And here it is. I got to keep the money, because I need to make sure that you don't let nobody take advantage of you. What? I'm making more money. You telling me I got to give you my money and you don't want to work a job? No. See, it's because here it is. When we are so unhealthy, we're bending because we won't just want to be with somebody. But when you're healthy, if you by yourself, you good. I'm talking better than y'all responded. When you're healthy, it's because you know how to be happy by yourself. You know how to go out to eat by yourself. You know how to look at yourself in the mirror by yourself. You looking to see, do I need to go back to school? Do I need to start a business? What do I need to do to make me a better person? Because I'm not going to let my goal be, I just got to be in a relationship. Come on, y'all. We talking about overthrowing unhealthy habits. Because if you look at our culture, oh, you need a man. Oh, you need a woman. That's what we telling folks. Instead of telling people, you need to go get some counseling. We need to tell people, you need to go to church and give your life back to the Lord. You need a relationship with the Lord. You got too much time on your hand. You need to give your life back to the Lord. And we need to stop telling folks, you need a man. You need a woman, because they don't like being by themselves. They can't be in the room. Some people don't even like to listen to their own thoughts. So they got to watch TV because they don't like what's in their mind. When you got to understand, you know what's in your mind that need to be out, get it out. I'm too big. What are you gonna do about it? Well, you know what? I don't like the way I feel. What are you willing to do about it? because it's unhealthy when you complain, but you don't do nothing about it. Oh, it's getting better, but you ain't doing nothing about it. You want to tell me this, but you're doing the same thing. You are unhealthy. And can I tell you, when you got some of the people, well, God gonna fix it. God, that's why God got counselors. God got therapists. I got me a counselor. There's no way I'm going to be coaching somebody else and I don't have nobody to talk to about my stuff. I got a deliverance coach. There's no way I'm going to be delivering somebody else and I don't have nobody to deliver me. You got to be willing. I use both of them hand in hand. When I got divorced, I gave myself 2 years of learning to love me. I gave myself 2 years of learning how to be by myself, learning what I like, what I dislike. Make sure I was going to counseling every other week. Every other week, I made sure I was going to counseling. Once a month, I was going to my deliverance coach, get myself, making sure I started exercising. I was making sure I was reading, making sure I was getting information where I was educated. See, I told you, he said, my people are delivered through knowledge. I was being delivered by what I was learning, and I was applying it to my life. This is how I learned to become healthy. I started listening to people who wasn't going in the direction where I wanted to be. When I look, oh man, I'm far off. Man, what they talking about, I ain't nothing like that. But I had to tell myself, but you're going to get there. You're going to get there. And I had to be honest with myself. But when you find yourself and you're not willing to be honest with yourself, you're going to find yourself continue to maintain toxicity. When you're not seeking God, you got to understand when you got issues going on with you, this is where it's time for you to go back to a place of prayer. When you don't have any prayer life, you are unhealthy. What is a prayer life? A prayer life is you talking to your creator. You talking to God. Can I tell you, you talking to God about your problem is not a relationship. Sometimes we only talk to God when we want something. I need you to pay my bills. I need you to heal me. I need you to help my children. I need you to help my husband. I need you to give me that job. I need you to give me. The whole relationship is based on what he can do for you. But what about you saying, God, I love you. God, you know what? I need you to transform my mind. I need you to heal me from these past issues. God, I thank you for loving me. Thank you for teaching me how to love myself. This is where you got to be willing to do your part. But this is what prayer does. Prayer teaches you how to get your feelings out of you. And you know what, God, that hurted what my mama did. That hurted what my father did. That hurted what my husband did. That hurt what my wife did. When you're learning how to tell God how you genuinely feel and know that it's a no judgment zone. He already know what we're doing anyway. He already know what we're thinking anyway. But when we sit up there thinking that we hiding something from God, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. God sitting back looking, got angels sitting back there looking. My child know that they know better. My child know that they should be praying. While you telling your friend you should be praying to God. Here it is, 3 o'clock in the morning. You talking to that man or that woman. And God saying, I've been trying to get you up to pray. And you won't get up to pray, but you'll talk to them. You got to understand that that's unhealthy. God is trying to let us know that we got some serious issues going on in our lives. And then here it is, we sitting up there, but I'm waiting on God to fix it. This going to be 2025 is my year. How 2025 your year and you ain't doing nothing? 2025 is your year and you doing the same thing you did in 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020. You did the same thing. That's why we getting the same results. And God is saying, your life, this is the same thing what the children of Israel did. A 3-week journey took them 40 years. How in the world could that be possible? You're walking around the same thing, steady saying things are changing, things are getting better. This is why I'm telling you, you can talk a good game, but look at your actions. When you don't see any movement in your life, that means something is wrong with what you're doing. That means you got some unhealthy habits going on. I'm going to say that again. You got to look at your life. Your life tells you whether or not you got some unhealthy habits. Because if you're not prospering with what you're doing, you're not gaining ground. You're not gaining wisdom. Because this is where we got the Bible says, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of the Lord. When you ain't asking God nothing, you just doing what you want to do, you're unhealthy. This is why I had to tell God, you know what? I done messed up my half of my adult life. I need you to help me because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I need you to give me guidance, give me wisdom, show me what to do, show me what not to do, show me who to talk to, show me who not to talk to, show me, should I go over here, should I not go over there, should I buy this, should I not buy this? This is where you got to be honest with yourself and asking God, because in realizing you need help. But see, here it is, oh, I know what I'm doing. How you know what you're doing and you keep messing up? You don't know what you're doing. And guess what God will do? He'll let you keep messing up until you recognize that I'm wrong. It's just like a person eating dog food. Oh, it's good. You ain't telling me this dog food folk trying to tell you, but it's good. I know it's good. I know what I'm doing. And when you're unteachable, this is another indication. You are unhealthy. You are unhealthy. Seeking godly counsel. The Bible tells you that when you got questions, you need to go to people who know God. But when you just trying to wing it, see, I was one of those people just trying to wing it. I know what I'm doing and kept messing up stuff, kept tearing up stuff. And you know what? I'm like, Lord, I had to realize, he said, you ain't asked me about it. So since you ain't asked me about it, I'm going to let you handle it. You got to begin to understand when you in a relationship, you got to ask God about things. Ask God about who you fun to be in a relationship with. Ask God, is this the church I need to go to? Ask God, is this the job I need to go to? Ask God, is this the house that I need to get? You need to be asking him, is this the area? Is this the city? Is this the state? Is this what I need to be doing? Because when we just doing stuff, again, you're unhealthy. And here, and one thing about this, and this is not trying to condemn anybody, but this is where you got to recognize where you at and make the necessary changes. Jesus said, I came for those that was sick. I didn't come for those that was well. He said, I came for those that was sick. And so therefore, that means he came for you and he came for us. And so this is where we got to be intentionally to get in this word, intentionally listen to men and women of God who God leads us to listen to, and be consistent. Apply and make the necessary changes so that you can become healthy. So you can walk in the place that God wants you to walk in. Because if you are not willing to be consistent, you're going to find yourself doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so as I come to a close, we're in the midst of our mentorship class now. So the next mentorship class is going to start in April. And so if you know that you want to be a part of this mentorship, you need to start putting money aside. You ain't paying for the gospel, you paying for my time. I'm giving the gospel right here free. But it starts in April. If you don't want to be a part of the mentorship and you say, I want some one-on-one, inbox me. I do one-on-one sessions too. But you got to understand 2025, you got to get the knowledge. You got to be willing to get the knowledge, stick with the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and do the knowledge. If you have not got my book yet, What You Don't Know, this is a deliverance book. When you read it, it's going to bring deliverance to you, because I'm sharing things in your life where God has showed me areas in my life where I was in darkness at, where I got hurt because I did not have the knowledge. And so that's what this book is. It's a book of knowledge. And I'm writing from a elementary level that even a teenager can read it and get delivered. And this is where we got to be willing to do our part. And so it's What You Don't Know. So you can look at it on TikTok Shop, or you can look at it on Amazon by AleciaBiggers. And I promise you, it is going to bless your life. And so if you got any questions about the mentorship, inbox me, message me, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. And so as I come to a close, I pray that you all have a blessed weekend. But can I tell you, you got to continue to work on yourself. You got to continue to do the work if your life is going to change. This is not the time to take a vacation. This is not time to take a break on bettering yourself. This is where you got to keep working on yourself. If you can work 10 hours, 8 hours on man job, you should be able to work on yourself when you get off of work to say, you know what? Because I'm not going to always be here. I'm not going to always be in this apartment. I'm not going to always drive this car. I'm not going to always be living where I'm living at. So you got to be making preparation to help yourself. And so if you're not willing and making the preparation, who else going to do it for you? Nobody is going to do what you're supposed to be doing. And so many times we're looking for another person to make our life easier when God is saying you ought to be bringing some things to the table yourself. You got to be willing to say, well, you know what? I did this. I got this in my bank account. I got this. You got something to add to the relationship, not to be a burden to anybody, but you saying this is what I got to offer. And so you want to make sure that you are preparing yourself. Come on here. You preparing yourself for where you want to be at. Because you got to know that in this season, it's going to take preparation. This ain't going to just wake up and bam, there it is. No, you're going to have to prepare if you want to see your life become better. Amen. So I love y'all with the love of the Lord. I will see y'all next Tuesday when we talk about our deliverance nugget. So you all be blessed and continue to work on yourself. Bye-bye.